Welcome back, Daniel and myself. Two awakened men always talking here. We talk up a storm
Yes.
whenever we can. And today I'm a little bit out of it. I have, for whatever reason, I couldn't sleep. Mercury in retrograde. That's who I'm blaming.
hmm
So we'll see how that comes out. So Mercury in retrograde is an interesting thing because it's communication becomes very critical. I've noticed. It's sometimes clarity of a message can't come through. Sometimes writing is very, at least for me during these times, it's real challenging. So I try to be very careful with the way I say things because you just never know how people will take it, especially when you're doing emails and text messages.
Right. Yeah. Less emails and text messages, more calling people.
Yeah, I know that. That there's something to say about the text messaging and the emails. It's like to me, it just doesn't carry any emotion. It doesn't, I mean, yes, it reserves the energy as we type it, but still, it will always be about the receiver. So in
Yeah.
communication, we have to be real careful with that. I mean, even us talking in video, it it helps out a little bit more, but there's still that misunderstanding sometimes, and then people will take body signals as a certain way. People take the way you react. I mean, like if you raise your eyebrows or if you kind of look at them weird. That some people are very self conscious. Yeah, just like that. But me, I don't care, so it doesn't really matter. But I bring that up because for me, it's like as long as I'm comfortable with what I'm saying, it is my truth. I really don't have an issue with it, and I think that's what it comes down to. All these things, all these confusions of communication and all that kind of stuff. I think as long as you're comfortable with saying what you're saying and not getting mad if you have to repeat it. I mean, because sometimes the way we say it, it's not as it's not as easy. I guess I don't know if that made. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, people just get offended easily. Um, and this is not our job not to offend people. I mean, obviously, don't be a jerk and call people names.
Hmm.
But if you say something and offend someone, it's probably their stuff. So
Yeah.
then they have to deal with it. And probably triggering that person is good for them, right? Because I know I heal mostly from being triggered. So when people trigger me, I'm thankful for it. I'm like, oh, they said this thing or did this thing. Like I get to heal this part of me. And then if they say that and it doesn't trigger me, then I've healed it. So I'm like, okay, this is all a blessing. If we're just like, if we're triggering each other, then it's a blessing because unless we're obviously calling each other names or being mean.
Mhm.
Right? There's a level where it's like abuse and bullying, but other than that, then I think it's just up to us to deal with what we feel.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when the people are doing self improvement or self help or or they're going inward, doing introspection. With those people, you can usually have a conversation like that with them. But there's other times when you're dealing with people that aren't into that self help or anything like that. So sometimes it gets interesting when at least for me, whenever I get into a place where I'm talking to somebody that's not doing a lot of self help work. I don't know if you run into this. Sometimes I struggle with the words trying to say to them because it's like, okay, well, do I have to speak a different language or what? And so I don't know if you do that or do you just kind of do it wherever you go? It doesn't matter.
I mean, both. I think my language changes,
Hmm.
being more of a vessel. I've noticed that if I'm teaching, it'll change
Hmm.
what I say. Because I used to do tarot card readings, and I still do, but not as much. And yeah, what I said changed based on their level of consciousness and what they needed to hear or
Hmm.
their wording. Um, so, yes, but also just speaking their language, right? If I know I'm
Hmm.
talking to someone that's not in this field, I'm not going to use words like consciousness and stuff.
Yeah.
Then you become a missionary, which is, you don't want to do that.
Well, that has its own little stigma in itself too. So
Mm,
I do find it funny though. So it's like, for example, I had a client of mine this weekend send me a message, and I my boundaries are to be able to have no work related stuff during the weekend. That's been my choice. Since I have my own business, it's very easy to bleed into the weekends.
mm,
And, when I do want to work on the weekends, I do work on weekends. But my standing rule is with everybody is on weekends, don't expect me to respond if it's business related. That's what I say. If it's like something, hey, let's get together or something like that, it's different. And it was funny because this person sends this message to me. And then as that, because I didn't respond the following day, and this was sent over the weekend, it's like they were very upset. It's like, well, you could at least responded. It's like, wait a minute. And the other part about communication is we have to learn about the tools that we have around us. It's like Facebook, not everybody is on Facebook all the time. Not everybody is on text messaging all the time. And so we have to also adjust to that form of communication. Talking, we get the answers right away because we're just talking here. But
right.
that's one of the reasons I'm more about a phone call. It's like, and that's what I told my client. It's like, it's like, why didn't you call me if it was that critical? It's like, if it was critical, then call me, because it's it has it takes on a different energy when you call, because you can actually hear where they're at and you can talk to them. Because texting, then you have to stop and do something, or you have to elaborate in words, and where something that could be a 1 minute phone call turns out being like 30 or 40 minutes. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan. I like text messaging when it's like, meet me here. Like,
Yeah.
it's very short. But having any form of deep conversation over text message doesn't make sense for me. I mean, I'm seeing someone, and our rule is we don't have any conversations that other than like that
Hmm.
over text messages. And we're dating. I mean, this is like new territory for me.
Yeah.
And it's so much better. Like, we
Yeah.
won't talk for 2 days. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that's part of it, right? Like, you don't get that checking in. But this is like weird, like, even dating now, people are like, I got to text you, like, good morning. I'm like, what are we, like, I don't know. Are we children? Like, we're fine. Like, I need to live my own life. And it takes all that guessing away, especially with
Yeah.
dating. And then you're not like sitting there like, do I text back? It's like all these things are just gone. And it's actually relieving. I'm like, oh, I can live my life. And then,
Hmm.
I actually got to want to talk to you and call you. And that feels really good.
Yeah. And communication is interesting because especially in relationships, it's like it's always about trying to figure out where, what do I want to portray? And that's where I get really surprised when I hear about breakups that happen over text messages.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't understand how that can be anywhere healthy in communication. I would think it would make things worse, but I don't know. Is it something about the younger generation that just feels comfortable with that, or are they? What do you feel, Daniel? Do you feel that there's something different about that? Oh, my
I
cat.
mean, people left letters to break up. So, I mean, if you're in a situation, and I've been in this before, where it like feels like if you were in the room, they would like yell at you, like you
Hmm.
wouldn't be treated well, then maybe that's an option. But other than that, as a protection mechanism,
Hmm.
it's easier. I mean, it's easier to do it. I mean, breakups are hard, so I guess text message just makes it. You just send a text, you're done. Um, but I don't think it's a good move
Yeah, I
because
mean,
it needs a closure.
yeah, even when I was in a relationship, it's like we like you. It's like we had kind of a rule, and sometimes we would realize we were breaking that rule, and one of us had to stand up and say, "It's like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. This is more of a phone call. Hold on. Let's wait until we can talk about this over the phone." Because there is something. I mean, I think even breakup messages, and maybe I'm just old fashioned. Breakup messages, I think even if it feels like there's going to be some tension in between there. I mean, it's a tenseful situation anyway. I feel that the communication, I don't know, it would be more expanding. But
No, yeah, I totally agree. I just mean if they feel like it's going to be dangerous, right? Like,
Mhm.
I always like to throw that in there. Like, if you feel like they're going to throw things or they're going to be angry, then I might do it that way just to avoid the wrath if it
Mhm.
feels dangerous. I'm not talking about tension. I'm talking about actual danger. Because I
Yeah.
think there's always like times for things. I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, if that's the only way you can do it,
Hmm.
and it's better to do it than not do it, then maybe, right? Because if they're going to stay in that relationship, and that's the only way their higher self can get them to end this relationship is through a text message. That might be how it happens.
Mm.
I don't think it's preferred though. I mean, I would never suggest it unless it was like, there's no other way I can get out of this bad relationship but doing that. I'm like, well, they'll be mad at you that you texted them and broke them up, but they're going to be mad at you anyway. So
Yeah. And the thing about it is when, especially to me, especially on the breakup messages or even on angry messages, I I catch myself too, and I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes when I get really frustrated in a texting conversation, rather than picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, let's talk about this," sometimes I get caught up in it and I just start texting back and forth, and I notice it just feeds the whole situation. It's like, oh, there goes another hit. It's like, oh man, and then the other person reacts, and the other person reacts, and next thing you know, you have like 300 messages and nothing got resolved. That
right.
which is interesting.
Yeah, people think it actually saves time to text, but really then you're constantly in that conversation and in the moment. I'd rather just take the 10 minutes, talk about it, and then go back to the moment I'm in.
Hmm.
That's why I don't want to. For me, I don't want to be texting on my phone while doing other stuff. It's
Yeah.
if I can avoid it, right? Business or certain things, but
Hmm.
like I want to have my phone off a lot. I live somewhere where I don't have reception. I
Hmm.
freaking love it. I don't have to deal with my phone. And so and really when I go into the world is when I want to deal with my phone anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. I mean, I have Facebook and stuff. There's ways I can communicate, but
Hmm.
it's nice. Like you realize like how freeing it actually is to not have to be checking something else. And even with Facebook, like I deleted Facebook off my phone after a meditation and it was like so
Hmm.
nice. I'm like, oh my God, like forget how good this feels, like to not be attached to all of everything
Well,
all the time.
I remember when I went to Vipassana, the interesting part of it is was 10 days I was stripped away from technology or any type of interactions except with the instructor. And when I came back, I was the most focused person on there. And with technology, I was actually just looking at technology and seeing it as what really is. It's a tool. And when I saw it as a tool, it's like that whole emotional attachment to it disappeared. And I've been practicing that over time. And that's where I came up with a tech life balance program where learning how to use the computer as a tool for communication, but not as my communication foundation. Uh, so that way it's something to help me get my messages out, not necessarily to broadcast. Well, I don't know. I can't even put words to it. And once again, it's like I can't put words to it because I can't describe it. It's it's something that helps us just put our words out there, but not necessarily our feelings out there. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's an amazing tool. And when it's used for that, then it's great. But I mean, I can see myself getting caught into scrolling on Facebook. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I notice it. And then it becomes a thing and a thing and a thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm distracting myself from myself. And I think I'm going to feel better, but I don't. And then when
Hmm.
I detach, then I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like. This is amazing. And obviously, the more you meditate and the more you detach, then the better you feel in general,
Yeah.
at least for me.
The funny part is you were talking about scrolling on Facebook. So I'm part of there's this new game called Cyberpunk 2077 that's coming out. It's not until April. And I found myself getting so hyped up about the game because people love it's going to be a big game supposedly. And I'm all hyped up about it that I noticed when I would turn off the Facebook, when I would turn off Facebook, I was like, oh, I kind of missed that high, about getting that hype. It's like, and then I would get back onto it until finally I realized it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? I, it's like I was getting, when I was getting so connected, it's like I was so attached to it that I would feel kind of sad, kind of disconnecting from it. So once I saw that, it's like, okay, wait a minute, there's something there. So I got to stop doing that for a while. And I did. And now it's like a very infrequent thing because there was some reactionary stuff going on to it. And it's amazing how addictive these things are.
Yeah, I mean, they're dopamine rushes. I mean, they've done studies on it, that you get some form of rush or like instant gratification from it. And from that, you just get addicted. So
Yeah.
knowing that doesn't mean you don't use it, but people wake up. I was seeing someone and they woke up and they would be on their phone and I'd be like, can you turn that off? Because I would see it and I'd be like, I don't want to see this like every morning. Like,
yeah,
it's literally, I can feel it. Like, I'm like, we've just woke up 10 minutes ago. Like, please stop on your phone. Like, I'm like, no, like, at least give yourself like an hour of like rest or like connection to yourself. And if we don't do that, like, you get lost. It'd be like waking up and having like 18 people telling you the news. Like, you'd just be waking up and there's 18 people in the room and they all come up and tell you something. And you just be like, oh, like, how am I going to run my day now? Like, and that's really what we're doing with our phones. We don't even notice it. You're looking at the news right when you wake up. Like, why? Like, give yourself a second, like 10 minutes at least.
Yep. It's so funny. So I like being my own guinea pig. It's like everything that I talk about, I test myself through it. So
Right.
that way nobody can say, well, you've never done it. And it's like, so I noticed that too. I actually started waking up in the morning and going on to Facebook. And Facebook, I use Facebook because that's the most common one. I know there's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all those others, but I talk Facebook. So when I would get up, I started noticing a pattern. I did that for 4 weeks. I wake up, look at Facebook. And so finally I caught on to it and I go, one of the things that I noticed is that there was like an urgency to me. When I was getting up and looking at Facebook and I started my day with Facebook, everything felt sped up. It's like, I got to take care of this. And I was like on edge and it's like, oh, I got to take care of this. So I did the opposite. I didn't check anything on my Facebook every time I woke up. I didn't check anything on my phone at all, just the time. And when I would wake up and look at the time, it was a total different experience throughout the day. It was a little bit more calm. I didn't feel as on edge as I did before. And I feel that it's the way that everything works because you get so many emotional posts through there. It's like some people talk about Trump, some people talk about the Democrat Party, some people talk about the Republicans, some people talk about science, some people talk about God. I mean, there's so many triggering things. And I think that's what was driving me. It's like I would read certain articles and then you could see what they were trying to do and trying to convince other people, because that's all writing is, right? It's like we're trying to get a viewpoint out. And I would feel that. It was kind of interesting to see that in myself. And to detach from it just gives you so much freedom. It's an amazing feeling. If you can, I recommend to anybody, do a week off without Facebook in the morning, and you'll see it's totally different. Or waking up, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't doing it perfectly for a while, but if I wake up and meditate for an hour or two, like my days it's like 100 times better. I just don't even know what the differences. And I did it today, and I'm like, oh my God, life is so easy. I
Mm-hmm.
might go do it more. I'm like, I might go do it after this. I'm like, that's just the space I'm in. But I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap. It's just like, it feels so good. And I'm like, and that's what we want, right? It's just to feel good and have that expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, I haven't been feeling as good and a little off. So I go meditate like crazy. And what we've been taught is, if we feel off, to go fix the problem. Well, me,
Mm-hmm.
I've trained myself the opposite way over years of knowing to go inward when things are a little off, and then it just like
Mm-hmm.
you skyrocket to a whole new place. But that's what we do, right? We go on Facebook, we don't feel good, my computer is dying, we
Yeah.
whatever else, right? We go to some addiction, food, like I've done
Mm-hmm.
that before. Go to TV shows, whatever it is, and those aren't wrong, but we have to have balance, right? And then
Right.
if we can meditate instead, one, will get better sleep, will feel
Mm-hmm.
better, like so many things will come together. um and not even just more sleep, better sleep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The relaxing portion of it is kind of interesting because I know that everybody is so busy trying to get caffeinated. They take a Red Bull, do monster drinks, do coffee like the whole day. And I like coffee, don't get me wrong, and I like those drinks, but I also did another study on myself like that too. And I noticed how much uh agitation comes up when I'm taking all those. It's like because once again I was on edge, and everybody might be different, but I'm just talking about my own experience. I felt like there's this urgency that, I mean, at times it's like, I got to move this, I got to move that, and I got to move this and this. And it was just so fast that it was so exhausting by the end of the day.
Yeah, and your adrenals just get drained. I know now if I drink coffee, like I can feel it, like my
Mm-hmm.
adrenals just like whoa, whoa, whoa. And there's certain drinks that are more balanced, but
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, just you'll realize, and I say this a million times, but when you do less, like, and meditate, like how little you actually have to do. And it becomes kind of a joke. Like, you're like, I don't have to do any of these things today. Like, it'll be fine. Like, I haven't done laundry, and I keep on going, I have to do laundry, and I meditate, and finally I was like, today's the day. I'm like, oh yeah, I might as well just wear all my clothes before I do laundry. Like, why was I making that a chore until it was the time, right? Like, it didn't, we just realized, oh, this is the time to do this. This is the time to do this. And like, we think we have to do things a certain way, and we're running this like almost like lack culture where people are running off fear. Like, they're really like just motivated by it, and they don't even know it. They're like looking at Facebook, and they're like, I'm not traveling all the time, and I don't have this and this and this. And then they're
Mm-hmm.
like motivated to go work and like build up a business because they're seeing everyone else doing these
Yeah.
things. Even though they don't really live that person's life, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, they might be traveling all year, but they might be super stressed and like
Mm-hmm.
sleeping on couches, and you don't really want to sleep on a couch. Like, you don't really know the intricacies.
Right.
That's not a word, but the details of what they're doing. But you like go and lack. But if you just like stay away from it, you'll be like, oh, I have food and a place to stay, and like, I don't really want to travel all the time anyway, which is actually an addiction of our new culture. So it's the new materialism. So I don't have to go that direction, right? Like, I'm not gonna be any happier. People are happy in jail cells, so I'm not gonna be happier traveling.
Mm-hmm.
There's people unhappy that are traveling right now on an airplane on their trip, and there's people in jail that are in bliss. So like, obviously it has nothing to do with anything, but you realize this stuff when you detach from those things, because you realize a lot more about yourself. But when you're scrolling, you're just in lack, and it's on purpose. They want you in lack,
Mm-hmm.
so you buy all the stuff that you don't really need, so they
Um,
can make a bunch of money.
well, it's all over the place. I mean, even you and I play video games, and even the video games are designed that way. I mean, you got to level up. You have to get to the next dragon, or you have to get to the next goal in the game. And then now they started putting in all the trophies. It's like, oh, get a trophy for this, get a trophy for that. It's like, and it's that whole mechanism of, oh, well, you don't have it, so you need to get it.
Right.
And the honest answer, and I love what you said, it's like Yeah, but I'll add on to that. It's like it also comes back to the internal self. If you're happy with who you are, well, one of the things that I've noticed happens, and I don't know if this is the same for you, Daniel, but as I become more happy with who I am, it's easier to become the observer of who I am. So I can see my habits a lot easier as I find my inner peace. I don't know if that works for you, or if you experience the same thing, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, I agree. You become like the observer of the observer of the observer, right? You go
Hmm.
back and back and back,
Yeah.
where I can see the higher plan of my life and like why things are happening, and it's like it becomes, yeah, just easier. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm just this human, and this is a short period of time, and like it's not that serious. I mean, that's been like when I farther go back, like how not serious what happening is. Like my bank account's not serious. My relationships aren't really that serious. Like
Mhm.
it's gonna end really fast. Like you know,
Yes.
I had the flu and now I'm feeling better, and that wasn't even that serious. Like I used to be like, oh, I have the flu. I gotta like find a way to feel better. And I was like, just rest. Like it's not that serious. Used to be like, oh, I gotta get myself in a higher vibration. I'm like, I'll just meditate and sleep for 2 days. Like I'll feel fine, and now I feel fine. It was like it wasn't you don't make as a big deal out of things that are happening because you know they're so temporary.
Yeah. I'm assuming you watched Forrest Gump
Hmm.
movie. Remember that part where he was in, and he was talking about he was running, and then he was talking to the lady, and he goes, "And you know, when I was tired, I rested. When I was thirsty, I drank. When I was hungry, I ate." And I don't know if a lot of people got it, but I mean, that's the flow. He wanted to run, so he just ran. When he was hungry, he just stopped. When he wanted to do something, he stopped because he felt like it was what if he felt that's what he wanted. And if we would just follow that philosophy, I think it'd be so much easier on everybody. I don't think we would have all these stress things. We wouldn't have all these crimes that we have out there. I mean, all this conflict we have, it's all because one form of lack or one form of something that we're not happy with. It's incredible because it's such a simple solution, but yet it's one of the hardest solutions we could do.
Yeah, it's funny how people are like that. The tired thing. I was at a music festival and it was the second night, and I'm like, I'm just gonna lay in my hammock all night. And everyone would come up to me like, "Come on, let's go do something." I'm like, "No, I'm tired. Like I'm just gonna lay here." And they're kind of like, you can see like, "But you're at a festival with fun stuff." Yeah, but I'm tired. I'm just gonna lay here. Like I don't want to go anywhere. Like you go have fun. Like I'm here to, if I'm not tired, I'll move.
Yeah.
And then I did. Like at 2, 3 in the morning, and then I felt great. So it's just like it's so simple. Like yeah, I mean, when I was not feeling well, I'm just like, well, I'm just sleeping, and
Yeah.
like last time I was hanging out with friends, I'm like, I'm just going home. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, tired.
Hmm.
I have ice cream at home, and I kind of want to eat it, and I want to go to bed. Like it's dairy free, so I'm a good person. But not really. I eat not dairy free ice cream, but like but it was just that simple of a decision. It's just
Hmm.
like I want to do this. I want to go this way. I want to go this way. Like it's not like we make it so complicated.
Yeah, and it's really not. But it's that lack mentality though. It does come back to that and knowing who you are. It's like the lack. It's like, oh, I'm at a concert and I've worked hard for it, so I've earned it, and I have to do everything I can in it. It's like I'm gonna watch every group there. Especially on music festivals, because man, I went to the first Lollapalooza, and yeah, that talks about my age, but I went to the first Lollapalooza, and man, I remember that adrenaline rush. It's like, oh, I had to watch all the bands, so we went around the area like 50 to 100 times because we didn't want to miss anything. And I think I would have enjoyed, now looking back at it, of course, like everything. Now that I look back at it, I think I would have enjoyed just staying with one band and enjoying that full set rather than just hearing some songs and then going to another song and then going to another band. But
Yeah.
everybody has their own choice. But it was very tiring. I was exhausted after that.
Right. You're not enjoying it because you have some excitation. Like the plan is more important than what you're feeling. And I've
Yeah.
been there too.
Hmm.
What if like what you're feeling is more important than the plan, right? Like
Yes.
your alignment's more important than what you're supposed to be doing. Like that, what would your life be? Like it would be so much easier. It'd be like Forrest Gump. Like you
Mhm.
like your body tells you when to stop. So just
Yeah.
stop. And I knew I pushed myself too hard. I was like, well, okay. This is why I always say you're sick because you need to slow down. But then we're a culture that drinks caffeine. And then I had been told that as advice. Like, oh, if you're not feeling well and you have to work, drink caffeine to get through it. I'm like, what culture are we living in? Like, that sounds like literally abuse. It's literally like taking a whip, going behind your body and going like, you're tired. I'm just going to go get this Red Bull that's basically the slave master whip rider. And I'm going to have him whip me forward so I can go do the thing I'm supposed to do because somehow I am a slave and I don't know it to like having to get this stuff done. Like, and you're not feeling well. Like one, if you rested for one day, so I rested for two, but like I rested one and then I did stuff
Mhm.
the next day. And I rested a lot yesterday and then I'm resting a little today. Like if you just rest, you're gonna feel so much better long term. I have colds for a month and I'm like, you just need to take 2 days off. Like if you took 2 days off, I guarantee you would have got way more work done this whole month. Like
Yeah.
you would have actually been more productive and you would have synced up with the universe and the
Hmm.
universe would have guided you to the right times to go to work and blah blah blah.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember uh, I used to be a big Red Bull drinker. And I would so I used to do like server support and server administration. So we were here building the servers. It was like midnight or something, and boom, it's like I take a Red Bull. So I work more hours. And the following day came around, it's like, oh, we got another project to start up. It's like, take another shot of Red Bull. And I don't do that anymore. And I notice now when I have projects that require a lot of my focus like that, rather than doing something like that, I actually try to get enough sleep and I meditate because that seems to even if I haven't meditated before I do the project, if I meditate right before I start the project, get so many answers and I get smart answers rather than the urgent answer. And what I mean by that, I get the solutions to things which are foundationally strong. When I was taking the Red Bull, I remember they were just patches. It's like, oh, we just got to get it squared away, and boom, it's like I put a patch on it, and it
Right.
would break down later on. So that's one of the other things that I say about what's important about slowing down. It helps you see the entire solution. It's like the observer. You're observing, like you were saying a little bit earlier, like you're observing and you're finding the totality of what's going on.
Right. And you're tapping into a higher intelligence. And by
Mhm.
doing that, you get better answers. Like some people think like, oh, I gotta work harder to, pay off my student loan debt or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like for example, for me, I meditated for a while. So I would just like stay in all winter and meditate. And it was great. Because the winter you just want to stay in and hibernate.
Mhm.
And if you're following the flow, which most people don't, right? They caffeinate
Yeah.
themselves through the winter, which then in the summer, then it doesn't work. When they actually need their energy, they don't have it. And yeah, and I had a solution to get out of my debt for half my debt price came up. So I could have
Mhm.
done the hard work, right? I could have worked hard, worked a ton of hours, paid it
Mhm.
off, which is what most people would say to do. Or I could have go inward and solutions would come. And like people think, oh, I'm gonna work harder. That's no, like you need to go inward and then synchronicities will happen and then you will get flooded with answers. You might make less money for a period of time, but then make more later. Like
Right.
everyone's kind of wants a short-term solution and I think they can figure it out, but that's you can't struggle to happiness. You have to get the happiness to happiness.
Yeah.
Whereas we're a culture that is built on struggle to happiness, and it doesn't work. You see retired people that retire after they struggled and they get another job or another project. They
Mhm.
can't even chill then. And they're like, there's no chilling. My grandpa did this and he's
Mhm.
passed away and he's told me this. He worked hard and then retired and saved money. And then he couldn't spend his money he had when he was retired and still did a bunch of projects. So nothing changed. you think you could struggle and save to retire, but then you're not going to ever change. You're going to hold on to that money. It's like, it's this thing that we've been taught from generation to generation that doesn't work. Be a slave so then you can be free. And that's like the pattern, not an actual slave, but like legitimately the pattern. But we have to be free first, and then we can be free forever. Then actually when we have retirement, we can play, because people don't know how to do that.
Yeah, that comes back to the, oh, I deserve this. I worked so hard. It's like, I deserve this. It's like it's like, really, do you really deserve it? Or is that what makes you happy? I mean, that's the real question.
Right. The richest people I know, the people that have like trust fund, I know some people, and bless them. I'm not jealous. I wish I had it. We all are, right? To our higher selves. We're a trust fund baby of the universe, I like to say, but like, they don't work very hard. Like, the people that are really poor work really hard. So that's not even true. Like, that's not even, there's no evidence of that. So it's not about working hard. Now it's about tapping into a higher source and, providing a service for the world. I'm not saying not to do something for the world, but it won't feel like hard work. Like, I don't think LeBron James or a basketball player, like, yes, he practices all the time, but they're not like, they want to do that. I don't think they're upset they have to go play basketball all day. They were doing it way before they got paid.
Well, and it's funny also, because there's also been studies, we'll use a basketball. There's been studies that proven that the person that physically practices compared to the person that imagines that they're practicing usually wind up being at the same level of skill set if they practice the same amount of time. So to me, it's physically or anything. I think that's more of a belief we've created, that we need to physically work hard, or we have to do this, or we have to do that. Because I do feel, if it is meant for you, if you just manifest it into your life and just imagine it into your future, I feel that will do wonders. And I'm living proof of it, because I've seen it, of things that I've wanted. It's like, sometimes I've gotten so frustrated because I want it now, but that's just that instant gratification our society has created. And once I've learned to divide that out of my awareness and just go with the flow, this thing that I'm about to launch, it's like, it's taken me 5 years, and every year I came to the same thing. It's like, oh, it's like, man, I just want to get this started. So I would put forth so much effort into it, and I would get nothing out of it. And then the moment I just let go of it, I was having so much fun, and it got created much much faster that way, which was kind of interesting to see. That it just baffles the mind, but it just works.
Right. Yeah, because you're just allowing it to flow. And the things you usually really, really want are the things that are harder to get, because you can't get out of the way. It's easy to get the things you don't really care about. But again, that's why meditation is just everything. Like, like, I wish it wasn't sometimes, because it's just so simple. But then I just do it again for like 2 or 3 hours a day, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, forgot this works. It gets me super, super connected. And like, what? And then people will tell you like, oh, you're just wasting your time, and you'll hear it in your head, you're just wasting your time. This isn't gonna work. And then it just works. I mean, and you don't have to do it constantly, but
just do it enough to slow you down, I think.
Yeah, or go even beyond that, because stuff will come up that you're like, oh my God, for years and years you were like, why is this feeling here? And it'll come up and you'll be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, you'll dive so deep you won't even know it's there, and you'll be like, holy crap. Like, I got so deep, I was like, oh, I feel unlovable. And I have never said that. And I was like, oh. And it took me like an hour to get there. Like, it took hours to get there. And I was like, okay. And I was like, whoa. Like, this is what we need to do. And you think like normal people in a normal time wouldn't have so many distractions. They would sit with themselves way more often.
Yeah.
So It's not like sitting with yourself with silence is really weird. Like people would walk in nature for hours in silence and
Mhm.
hunts. Like they were always with themselves. So to think sitting with yourselves and just being is a weird thing
Yes.
is bizarre. Like I always have to be doing something. Like there's no animal that I've ever seen in nature that's always doing something.
Yeah, I know. That's the funny part, isn't
It
it?
doesn't exist. It's not natural.
I mean, even the butterflies like stop. I mean, and they have what, like a 2 week lifespan or something like that. They're they just
Right.
stop and they enjoy the moment, and I'm assuming they're enjoying the moment because that's what I would be doing if I only had 2 weeks to live. so,
Right.
so,
Yeah,
but anyway, it's always a joy here having our conversations, and time flies by all the time.
it does.
Uh, well, for this time, let's see. I always like to end it with something. I don't know. It's my thing. It's that I like to do. And for today, it's like I think the big thing is I know about slowing down, but I really would like to challenge everybody out there. It's like turn off Facebook in the morning. Don't look at anything on your phone. Don't turn on electronics. Don't if you have a patio, go outside and just look at nature for at least 30 minutes and see how different you are compared to how you are when you do the phone in the morning. That's my little thing for recommending you guys. And Daniel, I don't know if you have one to add on, or if you have one for yourself to give to them.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go on my patio. But um, to me, like connecting with yourself, and I'm just realizing this, and I knew this, but increase it makes communication better, and it makes your relationships
Hmm.
better. And the mistake I've made in the past that I'm not making as much is that in relationships, connecting with yourself is more important than fixing the relationship. So to make your relationships better, meditate and connect with yourself more. That'll make every interaction easier. At least you'll be calmer. So if they yell at you, you won't react as much.
Yes.
It makes those turbulent situations easier. You're preparing yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny. We prepare by doing nothing, which
Yep.
is kind of cool. Anyway, well, thank you, audience. Like always, like us and subscribe to us, comments, or you know what, just send us a little hint there and let us know what you would like to hear. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, audience,
Mhm.
and we'll see you next time on the Awaken Men podcast.